Ladies and gentlemen, from Disney's Coronado Springs Resort in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, welcome to the 24th Annual HENAAC Conference, powered by Great Minds in STEM. To begin things off, please welcome Vice Admiral Kevin McCoy of the U.S. Navy, Commander of the Naval Sea Systems Command, NAVSEA.
Good evening. On behalf of the servicemen and women in attendance and the hundreds of thousands serving around the world, I welcome you to the great state of Florida for the 24th Annual HENAAC Conference powered by Great Minds in STEM. Let me first congratulate tonight's award winners for their world-class accomplishments in science, technology, engineering, and math. Tonight's winners are a living embodiment of the American dream, and on behalf of all men and women in uniform, I congratulate you. America's rise to technological preeminence in the 20th century is one of the truly remarkable stories of our history. From the windswept sand dunes of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, where the Wright brothers first powered humanity into the skies, to the rolling hills of California's Silicon Valley, where intrepid engineers and visionary entrepreneurs perfected the PC and unleashed the internet. This is a story that was written by many hands under many different circumstances in many different places around our country. America's rise to technological superpower mirrored our nation's evolution into the planet's only remaining military superpower. These two narratives are not simply parallel, but intertwining, overlapping and all-encompassing. A civilization's ability to defend itself has always gone hand in hand with the ability of its leaders and its people to innovate. And it's often through exercising its defense that a civilization finds itself able to make great technological leaps. In the early 1940s, America found itself at war with a technologically superior enemy that had exhibited a chilling ruthlessness on and off the battlefield. Spies and escaped European scientists alike confirmed that they were close to producing a devastating new weapon from which no ocean could protect us. Under this ominous cloud, Dr. Robert Oppenheimer and Lieutenant General Leslie Groves assembled a team of physicists and engineers out on the desert plateaus of Los Alamos, New Mexico, where in just a few short years, they unlocked the power of the atom. Although we grapple with nuclear proliferation and safety today, as we well should, the legacy of the Manhattan Project is an unequivocal triumph to humanity. It's led to unimaginable insights into the inner workings of the universe, to very threshold of unlimited and clean energy, and to greater and more precise understanding of the fundamental forces of nature. And when the war ended, the military left behind a world-class STEM economy in New Mexico that endures to this day. Tonight's Engineer of the Year, Dr. Stephen Castillo of Sandia National Laboratories, is a product of that proud legacy. Well, 12 years later, we found ourselves again facing an ambitious adversary that had leaped ahead of us in science and engineering. Americans awoke one morning in 1957 to learn that the Soviet Union had launched the Sputnik satellite, sending shockwaves through the scientific and military communities. In response, President Eisenhower directed the creation of two new agencies. The first, lesser known of the two, was the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, or DARPA, and its mandate was to ensure that all American military technology was more sophisticated and robust than any potential adversary. Over the years, DARPA scientists and engineers led the research that perfected technologies for computer networking, the graphical user interface, and the internet. The second agency, created in the wake of the Sputnik moment, was one that has become the iconic symbol of American technological might, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. NASA and the military worked together early on to transfer bases, personnel, and technology so the new agency could pursue non-military objectives in space. Elements of the Army Ballistic Missile Agency and the United States Naval Research Laboratory were incorporated into the fledgling space program, which faced the daunting task of catching up to and eventually surpassing the Soviets. All America's space program was able to accomplish to that point was to put the grapefruit-sized Vanguard satellite into orbit while the Russians were on the verge of the first manned spaceflight. But just 11 years later, a Saturn V rocket carrying astronauts of Apollo 11 blasted off from Kennedy Space Center, just down the road from us here. 4 days later, we were on the moon. No single image captures the possibilities or the promise of our nation's commitment to STEM than the flickering images of the late Neil Armstrong stepping down the ladder of Apollo's lunar module onto the surface of the moon and planting the American flag. It was without a doubt the defining moment of the 20th century. The formula that guided those physicists in New Mexico in the 1940s, and those NASA engineers in the 1960s, and those DARPA engineers in the 70s, is reflected in this year's HENAAC conference theme, STEM, Excellence in the Pursuit of Innovation. This theme is not simply a blueprint to guide the thousands of students and professionals who are attending this conference, nor is it a theme directed solely at the Hispanic technical community. This is a formula for our nation as a whole, one that echoes the timeless mission statement of America, as expressed first and maybe best by Thomas Jefferson, who declared our inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It affirms the fundamental keys to continued prosperity for our nation, and it ensures that our children will be prepared to compete at the level demanded by the new global realities of the 21st century. If tonight's award winners are any indication of the kind of talent our country can produce for the challenges that await ahead, then I feel confident that we can rise to meet these challenges just as generations before us did. And speaking of talent, I had the great opportunity today to spend some time with 14 of the NAVSEA and SPAWAR interns that we fund this year together between NAVSEA and SPAWAR. You have only to spend a little time with these young folks to recognize they are the future of this nation. We just have to help them achieve their greatness. Before we meet the HENAAC Awards class of 2012, I ask you to rise for the presentation of colors by U.S. Army Orlando Recruiting Command Color Guard, followed by the singing of our national anthem by the group Brooklyn Skyline.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled